Yep, it says streaming to YouTube. I got it. It popped up on my end.
Okay, I have to just name it in YouTube and let it go.
It's popped up. It's
Is there somebody that's not a voter? Because there's 3 online, 3 virtual.
Well,
and
there's
you.
only 2 online that are members of the commission.
Okay.
Hey, Barry,
okay.
Yes.
do you have Ed's number?
Yeah, I do.
Maybe you should.
I think my suggestion, let's give the folks a chance to decide what they want to do. If he would have called me if he wasn't coming, so I don't know what's going on with him.
Well, I guess the point is, if you have his number, give him a quick call. We'll know real quickly whether he's coming or not.
If you got a minute, I'll give him a call here.
Yeah, let's call him first. We got a minute.
618 8183. Hello? Hello? It just went dead. I called him and just the phone line went dead. I'd say go ahead, Dave.
I'm going to call the meeting to order. This is the City of New Franklin Board of Zoning Appeals meeting. It is the 13th of October, 2020, and it is 6:31 p.m. Barry, if you would call the roll, please.
Okay, Mr. Armbruster.
Here.
Mr. Roberts.
Here.
Mr. Parsons.
Present.
And Mr. Whitner.
Here by video. Yes, I'm present.
Okay. We have 4 members here. We do have a quorum, but Mr. Whitner has an announcement to make regarding that.
Mr. and Mrs. Hunsaker, we only have 4 members present. It is a quorum, so we can take a vote. You need 3 affirmative votes out of the 4 present to pass this matter before the board. You can choose to proceed, or we can table this till next month, and if we get more members, that is your choice, and we will allow you that choice. You understand?
He's talking to you, John.
Oh, I'd rather see, can we see if we have the votes or no?
Well, no, we can't because we have a quorum, which means the meeting can go forward, but you need 3 out of 4 of us to approve this to get a yes vote on it. If 2 vote no and 2 vote yes, it's a failure. We can wait until we get more next month, or you can proceed with the 4 that we have. It's your choice.
Mr. Chairman, pardon me?
Please.
But can't he ask for a continuance right up to the time of a vote?
He can. He can ask for a continuance at any time. Thank you, Mr. Armbruster.
So if you want to try to get a gist for how it's going, you can wait till just before the vote and ask for continuance. If it doesn't, you don't think, by the way, the questions are being given and such, if you want to wait.
Sure. I mean, we just want to build the fence
We understand.
before it freezes if possible.
Okay. All right. Unless we're going to proceed. All comments and questions shall be directed to the, I'm sorry. This meeting has been advertised in the Suburbanite and or Southside Leader, which are newspapers of general circulation, as well as the City of New Franklin website. The City of New Franklin zoning appeals is governed by Robert's rules. All comments and questions shall be directed to the chair throughout the duration, please. The audience must refrain. I don't know if there's an audience there. I cannot tell. Refrain from conducting any side conversations, especially since we're in this video presentation. Board may not render a decision at these items this evening. If they need any new information from the applicants or engineer, law director, we can table this to reach an informed decision. Anybody that plans to speak shall approach the podium. You're welcome to stay at the table, sir. I can see you much better there. And I'll need your name and address. And time is limited to 5 minutes. However, applicants may record more time to present their request to the board. Please only try to let one speak at a time. This is pretty difficult. And each speaker shall be administered an oath by the chair before giving testimony. Everybody understand?
Yes.
Everybody signed in. Did everybody sign the sign-in sheet over there to your right?
We're not using sign-in sheets
Okay.
now, Mr.
Okay,
Chair,
okay.
because of COVID.
All right. And if anybody's planning to speak, Mr. Hunsiker, you're going to speak, I assume,
Mr. Kunkel.
Yes,
or Kunkel. I'm sorry.
I'd like to be Mr. Hunsiker. That'd be
I'm
fine.
sorry. Okay. And both of you, if you'd raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is true and accurate to the best of your knowledge?
I do.
I do.
All right. I'm sorry I rushed this, but we only have one matter before the board tonight. And it is the matter of 2020 BZA-07 of Thomas and Kathy A. Kunkel, 4137 Hunsiker, New Franklin, requesting following variances within the RL High Density Residential Lakefront District from Article 801 G7A of 2 feet 6 inches additional fence height in order to install a 6 foot 6 inch overall height solid privacy fence along the north property line, approximate length of 65 feet. Zoning code requires a maximum solid privacy fence of 4 foot 0 inches. And this is from a point 20 feet 0 inches from the water's edge of the adjoining lake. And a variance from Article 6, Section 600-03B3, whereas the zoning code requires the board of zoning appeals review any variance located within the front yard, lakeside, in your case, folks, of the property within the RL high density residential district. Okay, that's what we're here. And Mr. Kunkel, you've been sworn. Sir, if you would please tell us what your variance request is and why you can't meet the code as it is written.
Okay.
One second. Mr. Chairman, point of order.
Please, did I miss something?
In Mr. Kunkel's notes,
Yes.
he talks about either a 6 foot tall or a 6 foot tall 6 inch fence. And the 6 inches would be a trellis on the top. I'm not sure he can ask for two things at once.
Well, Barry and I, and to be completely truthful, Barry and I talked about that before the meeting. I don't know if you heard us, Bob.
No, I didn't.
He asked for 6'6" being the maximum height he wanted to put up. And if he was going to go down to 6 foot, he'd still be inside the variance if we grant a 6'6". Mr. Kunkel, do you know what size fence you're going to use? How high that's going to be?
Yeah, I put these packets together, and it shows a picture of it, but there's two choices. It's hard to get materials right now. So we're either going to do I think they call it a shadow box with alternating slats, or else it's called a country club made by Acme of cedar, which is good on both sides, and then there's an optional trellis I can put on the top.
Okay. So
There's an existing fence there that is a 4-foot fence, but this is adjoining a driveway which goes down to two houses. They've just spent a lot of money on that new cement driveway. And we've got signatures from all the neighbors requesting that we do this fence. They're all in agreement.
Mr.
okay,
Chairman?
but Joe, was that you?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Would you mind, Mr. Kunkel brought packages of information, and I think some of our questions may
Yeah.
very well be answered in that.
Yes, do you want
So
those?
if you could pass those to us, please.
Okay, is this any different than the
They
stuff
said to
we
put
got?
9 together, so you've got some extras.
Yeah, I mailed everything out to everybody, so unless he's added something new that I have not received.
Thank you.
I'll take one the berry.
All right.
Oh, yeah, let me grab one, Katie.
Yeah, just stick it in front of the camera for me quick. If it's the same stuff we're looking at
Thank you.
before.
I think we need to ask the applicant to give us his.
This looks like additional photographs that I did not have, or I did not receive. We can hold these things up or not.
Okay.
Like a driveway.
And the fence would go immediately to the left of that drive up that property line.
Yeah, Eric and I went over and viewed the property.
Yeah, I was there yesterday.
I was there today.
And I was there today too, and these just look like what I saw.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's go ahead and finish them up here.
I think,
Okay.
Larry, you may want to see if you can focus in on the second page of the material, which gives demonstrations of the two fence types.
I have it.
Okay.
Yeah, everybody should have that sheet there.
Okay, but they were very small. I thought they were barcodes.
Yeah, it didn't look like barcodes, did it?
Yeah,
It's not.
Right.
I see that now. This is much more illustrative. Or illustrative, I'm not sure.
Okay. Let's go back a little bit. I think Mr. Armbruster had a question of you're asking for a 6'6" variance, but you may put a 6-foot fence depending on availability of materials. Is that correct,
Correct.
Mr. Kunkel?
I'd like to put at least a 6 foot, and then if you went along with it, that trellis on top would dress it up and make it look a little bit nicer.
Bob's your question, so you got the floor.
Yeah, maybe just a point of order, we need a point of discussion. Can he do that, come in front of us and ask for one or the other? Or does he have to focus in on one request?
I think.
I don't have a problem if he comes before us and asks for 6'6" and only puts up a 6 foot. I mean,
Well, I don't either, I agree with that, yes.
Yeah, I believe he would need to ask for the 6'6".
Yeah.
And then if he goes 6 foot.
and he did.
Oh,
The variance request as published
yeah,
says
6'6".
I don't think there's a problem here.
Okay,
Let's go. Okay, sir, if you explain what we look for is the practical difficulty in meeting the code as written. The code says 4 foot, you want to go 6'6", please tell us why.
Okay, well, it's adjacent to a driveway, and this is a small 2-bedroom house.
Okay,
And our main bedroom window is right on the driveway there. So we've got a picket fence, 4-foot fence, which doesn't even come up to the bottom of the window. So I prefer to have a fence above the window for the sake of privacy.
okay. Is there any other issue that you're trying to?
No, everybody, all the neighbors are great, and we're just trying to dress the property up. We've spent a lot of money. All the neighbors have spent money there, and we're just trying to finish the property.
Okay, for full disclosure, I was there today and I did discuss this with your wife, Mrs. Kunkel. We did not discuss the merits of this fence or whether I would vote one way or the other, but she said something about traffic on that driveway to me.
Well, I mean, there's 2 houses that feed down into that's a dead end drive. It's not a street so much. There are easements on each of their properties to get down to the bottom property. And it's the dents. They've just bought the property and fixed it up. They've got a lot of young high school drivers that come up and down this street. And I'm old. I go to bed early. They're young and they stay up till 2 or 3 in the morning. And I'm trying to get some sleep, and it's a jungle out there, But they're good kids, but they do what kids do,
Mr. Kunkel, if I can ask you a question, I was
Sure.
up on Melcher. And it almost looked like to me, cars coming down Melcher would put lights into your house.
That does happen.
Headlights,
Sure.
which I think would
As
be.
they come down the driveway, that it turns that way, so it
Right.
comes into the bedroom and then goes down.
It's almost worse when they come up
Okay.
into the bedroom.
Yeah, that was my observation also, that it's terrible to, at nighttime, have these cars look like they're coming into your house. That's my observation.
And they might someday. The fence might help a little bit, I'm not sure.
Mr. Chairman,
Please, Joe, Mr. Parsons.
because you don't have this packet, included in this packet is a letter, and if I may read it?
Oh yeah, please. Didn't get correspondence yet, but that'd be fine. Go ahead.
It reads, as a neighbor of Tom and Kathy Kunkel at 4137 Hunsaker, Akron, Ohio 44319, I give my permission for them to put up a 6, and then there's a little caret, and 6.5-foot fence along the driveway on the north side of their home. And the Jeff Hornack name is printed, Sharon Dante is printed, Jan Ryan, Peggy Easterly,
Yes.
and Richard Nestor are all signed.
Okay.
So those are the folks that surround.
That's everybody around that
Yeah,
house.
that's all the neighbors around you. Okay.
Yeah, we've discussed it with all the neighbors and they're all in approval. They're hoping we do it.
Okay. All right. Is there, Mr. Kunkel, is that all you have for us today?
Well, unless you've got any further questions, I mean, we tried to start this in April and really with what's going on, the materials are limited out there.
I understand
So
that.
that's why I've shown 2 different styles of fence depending on what we can actually get materials to do. We'd like to get it done before it gets cold out, but I'm not even sure at this point, what materials are available. I think that people have stocked up a little bit. I think we're better off now than even like in the early part of summer, but I'd like to, if I get approval, I'd like to start it immediately and get it done before it snows.
Okay, we don't typically control style, just height. That's the only issue here. So,
Right.
if there's not, is there anyone else there? I can't tell who is
No.
there. It to speak
Any
in
what?
favor,
Anybody else?
to speak in favor of the variance. Anybody speak in favor?
My wife,
Please, if she has.
Well, the only comment I would add is we also have 2 dogs and 4 grandchildren. And as a safety, being right on that street, it's a
not a
safety
street.
issue. Or not a street, but their driveway
Okay.
with the cars coming down.
Okay.
I mean, I don't worry about the grandkids as much because they're pretty good listeners,
Oh.
but the dogs, sometimes they do run out
I
there
think the
and I don't
dogs are
want them
better
out
than the
there.
grandkids.
I
really.
find it to be the other way around. Okay. All right.
But that's the only other comment that I had that
And
Tom
that was,
didn't bring
for the
up.
record, that was Mrs. Kathy Kunkel speaking. Okay. Anybody else in favor of the variance? Okay. Anyone opposed to the variance? Questions, comments from the board, please.
Mr. Chairman?
Please.
This is Joe Parsons. This question is really directed at you, Barry, or to you, Barry. Section 801, what is it? Let's see, 4 on page 46. Reads, solid fences of an approved type shall be permitted in all zoning districts, only in rear yards.
Okay, I'm reading that here. Well, actually, I would consider that kind of a side yard there because the front yard is the lake.
Well, but it goes along, if the front yard is from the lake to the house, it's in the front yard. It happens to be on the property line, but it's still in the front yard.
Actually, I would, if I could mention, I believe that the front yard would be where the parking area is,
Now,
Front
yard.
because that's what borders Hunsaker.
Our
front yard is,
code
front
sets
yard
out
is
the
always
lakefront
lakeside.
as the
That's the
front.
front, okay.
The lakes are treated differently than the
Okay.
balance of the community.
Hey, Joe.
That's a tough question, Mr. Parsons. I mean, I would kind of consider that more of a side yard or to the rear, but I guess it's a matter of interpretation.
Well, I don't know how it could be interpreted any differently. Our code defines the front yard as the area between the lake and the house. And this fence, while it's on the property line, is between the fence and the house. So therefore, it seems to me that this is in the front yard.
Mr. Parsons.
I'd be interested in any of the other members' thought on that.
Yeah, Mr. Parsons, if I may. Mr. Parsons.
Yes.
I was there today, and the side that faces the lake, technically, I thought is a very short side were the doors that I met Mrs. Kunkel at. This, I almost had to walk 90 degrees kind of around the side of the house to where she showed me where the fence was. So I tended to agree with Barrymore. It's more of a side yard slash backyard because it's almost on the roadside, because the piece that at the terminus away from the lake, weirdly, was almost back to the other road, Melton Drive. So it's a very irregularly shaped piece of property. If you look at your drawing, there, where it's highlighted in orange. I don't know if yours is highlighted in orange or not, where the fence is. This drawing.
Yeah, I did, on the
Okay.
front.
So
I will caution you that if that is your determination, then fences of 4 feet high when they obstruct someone's view are gonna be okay.
I'm not going down
And
that
this,
rabbit hole.
bad facts make bad law?
I'm not going down that rabbit hole.
What rabbit hole is that?
We don't have a section of code that protects views of the lake.
Okay,
I mean,
look up the definition of front yard for the lakefront zone.
well, I agree, Joe. This is probably the fences on the side yard. I don't think it's on the.
It's on the side of the front yard. I don't know how that can be construed any other way.
I have a suggestion.
Go ahead, Mr. Armbruster.
I think we do one of two things. I think we either include the fact that it's a solid fence, and that's part of the variance request that we're considering, or number two, we make a finding of fact that is the front yard, and that is a side yard and not a front yard. If we put that in our facts, I think we're protected.
Mr. Chairman,
Who's speaking, please? I can't tell.
Eric,
Okay, Eric, please.
Eric, I'm not sure how close the fence goes to the lake. Can Mr. Kunkel tell us how close the fence is, the terminus of the fence will be toward the lake?
I'm gonna guess, but it's probably like 30 feet, 40 feet, 35 feet maybe,
Okay.
from the edge of the lake. Is that what you're asking, from the edge of the lake?
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
And it's gonna be adjacent to the garage that's, all these properties are totally irregular. There's nothing square here. Ours is more of a triangular lot with a bunch of little notches in it, but, you know, so this coming down by the driveway, it would terminate by the edge of his garage, which is, probably 25, 30 feet.
Right, closer to the corner of that garage than
Right,
the uphill corner.
right, correct.
Okay, that's where I was going, Mr. Chairman, with my comment, was that though it may be by definition within the front yard, partially within, whatever we want to disagree on, it does, the fence is, going to back up towards a garage there. And so even though views are not protected, it would not affect anyone's view of the lake or anyone's view from the lake as well.
Okay. And that was the discussion I had with Mrs. Kunkel. Did you see the two surveyor stakes there? There was one closer to the lake and one further back, almost at the corner of this garage where it says Jeff Horniak.
Yes.
And that's where she showed me the terminus of the lake, or the fence, excuse me.
Actually, it would be a little bit further up the driveway from that stake.
Okay.
Jeff just had a survey done because he's doing some work to his property. So we luckily had that survey stake just stay right there, but we'll be up, I didn't measure that, probably like 5 to 7 feet from there.
Well, we do have some footages here, and tell me if they're wrong.
No, they'd be correct.
There's a 30 foot, there's a 33.
30 foot down, there's a utility pole right there, and I'm not sure how they can,
So that would be the length of your fence, I take it.
Right.
And that would leave 24 feet to the water.
okay.
So we do have some exact, I believe. I think the problem you have, Eric, is the fact that this is a straight fence. And how you can say just part of it's side yard and the rest is front yard, I don't know. But this is an odd shaped lot. I mean, he's right about that. It's,
If I may correct myself, Mr. Chairman, or at least I think I am,
Please, Joe, Mr.
in,
Parsons.
in 8017A, it does read, from the lakefront towards the street, the height of a fence, wall, or hedge shall not exceed 3 feet for the first 20 feet from the water's edge and 4 feet back from that. So they are calling out that, in my opinion, that a fence can be from the lakefront to the house. And I guess I'm flip-flopping back and forth, but it does, but the code also does say solid fences can only be in the rear yard. So that's my position.
Okay. I think it's my opinion, this is a side yard, because where it says stone boathouse and concrete seawall, I would certainly call the concrete seawall the lakeside being the front side of the property. And this one comes around the corner, so I'm more of the position it's in the side yard, not the rear yard, Joe. I'll agree with you there. Because I would call where it says picket fence there, rear yard. Or rear line, whatever you want to call it, so. All right,
Mr. Chairman,
please.
I was going to mention Mr. Kozla has been on board here for a while.
Yeah, he popped up.
So as long as he's heard all the testimony here, I would assume he can jump in with you guys to vote then.
Anybody else?
I'm gonna make a motion.
Please, is that Bob, Mr. Armbruster? I can't tell.
It's Mr. Armbruster.
Please.
And my motion is that the side yard that we're looking at, that he's gonna put the fence up on, we make a finding of fact that is a side yard and not the front yard. Just to clarify the record.
Okay, I have a motion to clarify the record that the fence is requested to be in the side yard of the lot, not the front yard. Do I have a second? I'll second the motion.
Okay, I'm going to do a roll call here, gentlemen. Okay, Mr. Armbruster.
I'm in favor of the motion.
Okay, Mr. Roberts.
In favor of the motion.
Mr. Parsons.
No.
Mr. Kozla. And Mr. Whitner.
Yes, the finding of fact.
Okay, let's see. I think I got everybody here. Yep. Okay. 4-1.
Okay. Just for the record, the fence is in the side yard. Does that change our request?
Well, it says along the north property line in the legal ad.
Okay, and it is the north property line. There's no question that. I assume, I don't see a north arrow on my drawing, but I assume it is. And I was out there and it felt like it looked like it was north to me.
North always up.
That's north. Does our finding of fact then eliminate the necessity of Part B of this particular variance request? Which goes on to say it requires a variance located in the front yard of a property.
Well, I thought B said we have to review everything in the RL.
Right.
B is just, I can't find it in front of me.
That language also says within the front yard.
Does it?
Well, my interpretation is any part of that would project into the front yard area would be covered under that section B of that.
Okay, but I think we determined it didn't go into the front yard area. It stayed back far enough. The dimensions that Mr. Armbruster brought up.
I mean, a front yard is gonna have a front boundary and it's gonna have a side boundary, right?
Right.
So,
As an example, you're not permitted to build a garage in the front yard.
correct.
So on the lake, What's the front yard?
By the water, yeah, in front.
Yep. It's that piece where it says break wall. All right. Any more discussion? Any more discussion from the board? Questions from the board? No? Hearing none. Whoever someone can make a motion to include or not include part B of the variance request. So I guess I'm asking for a motion. Going once.
It was advertised with Part B in there, so maybe we don't need to remove it.
It's whoever makes the motion.
If you'd explain again, Mr. Chairman, is this motion to include or not include B?
Well, it's whoever makes the motion can choose to include or not include.
I see.
It's their motion, and if somebody wants to move to amend the motion, they certainly can. I mean, the variance request as written does include B. If it's moot, all right, let's decide.
You can withdraw the motion.
I'm sorry.
You can withdraw the motion.
There's no motion before us right now, but you're right. All right, let's have a little discussion if B is moot. I think Mr. Parsons, did you bring this up? Who raised the issue of B being moot?
That was me.
Okay, Mr. Roberts, if you would.
I was just asking, I was trying to ask the board what their opinion was on the matter, and that kind of fell flat, it seems. So I'm satisfied if we can, if we just want to leave it there. It can be moot.
Not to beat a dead horse.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Go ahead. But go ahead. Yeah. I mean, the advertised language includes within the front yard.
Okay.
And is it the opinion of the balance of the board members that this is not in the front yard, albeit the side of the front yard?
That is my opinion, yes. Mr. Armbruster.
You gotta have, I believe it's in the front yard.
Okay. We're taking a poll here. Mr. Parsons.
I'm sorry?
We're taking a poll. Mr. Parsons, front yard, side yard.
In front.
Mr. Roberts.
Front.
Osla.
Agree.
Front or side?
Yes.
Sorry, it didn't come through on my end. Mr. Cosley didn't come through on my end. Are you front or side yard? Your opinion, sir.
Could you repeat that, please?
Do you believe the fence is in the front yard or the side yard?
You know, I really can't answer that. I guess I would have to disagree with the rest of the members. Sorry.
And that is what, sir?
What your decision is. I'm having a little trouble hearing all this. I should have, and I came in late, so consequently.
You can abstain.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, now
Okay, the poll among the board members is in the front yard. Therefore, B is material to the variance request.
David, I'm sorry, I'm having trouble hearing you.
I'm sorry, Joe. Mr. Parsons, the informal poll of the board members, the majority says the fence is in the front yard. You got that? Can you hear me now, Joe?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so that means that B is material to the variance request.
I believe it is.
Okay, so with that, a motion is in order. Either way, a motion is in order. Move this along.
Mr. Chairman, can I make another comment?
Mr. Parsons.
One of the things that our code does not do is define solid fence. And so I guess the question, perhaps Barry, I couldn't find the definition of solid fence. I saw vision impairing, but not solid. And so my question is, based upon these two styles that the Kunkles are proposing, are those solid height fences? Because if they're not, then the issue of it being in the front yard is moot. Because only solid fences are permitted only in the rear yard.
Mr. Parsons, if I may, or Mr. Chairman,
Please.
I would interpret anything as a privacy fence or solid fence that you cannot see through. I mean, you could probably include a shadow box of that, but if you look at it through a certain angle, but I mean, I think the intent of the code in the lakes for see-through is literally means that you can literally see through it. Excuse me. Anything solid you can't see through.
Mr. Kunkel,
Yes,
the board-on-board fence,
yes.
that's one side, the boards are staggered, and on the other side, they're staggered, but in the area where there's not fence on the,
Right.
on the front.
Right, one there and then one there.
So from an angle,
You could see through it.
you can see through it. Whereas the country club with trellis, that looks like that's,
That's pretty solid, and then the trellis, obviously you could see through that.
Okay, but Mr. Parsons, the only real issue is 2 feet on top. If he wants to put a 4-foot solid fence there, he's not even in front of us.
no, I don't think that's correct. I don't
Okay.
think you can have a solid fence in the front yard, period.
Well, I mean, I would argue strenuously this is the side yard, but
I thought I was helping us out by making that motion that this is the side.
But for the advertising, that says it's in the front yard.
we've already had a finding of fact on the board. This is the side yard.
Okay.
Got it.
I don't have any other comments.
All right. I need a motion or not.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
I'm sorry, Mr. Armbrust, I need a motion.
A vote?
Motion.
I
Motion.
need a motion.
What
You don't
about
have a motion?
discussing the Supreme Court's factors?
Okay. Oh, shoot, that's right. I got ahead of myself. I can't find it. Well, I don't know where it went.
I can read them.
I got it. Okay. In determining a variance request, Mr. and Mrs. Kunkel, the Supreme Court asked us to go through a number of steps, a number of questions, and they are not limited to but the following criteria. whether the property will yield a reasonable return or whether there can be a beneficial use of property without the variance. I think it goes without saying that yes, it can. Variance is not necessary.
Well, may I say that I think there's a much better beneficial use of that fence because of that street behind it and the street lights coming into their house.
Okay, I never thought of it that way. That's a good point. That is true. I never thought of it that way, Mr. Armbruster. Anybody else on that? Okay, whether the variance is substantial. It's,
I mean, I'll speak again. I don't think it is.
okay.
I'm sorry,
This is very substantial, item 2.
oh.
I'm just reading, Mr. Parsons, I'm just reading down through them. Whether the essential character of the neighborhood would be substantially altered or adjoining properties would suffer a substantial detriment.
I don't believe anyone would suffer a substantial detriment from this variance.
I agree.
And I agree also. Being over there this morning and looking at the houses and the way everything's configured, it's a little bit crazy.
And everybody, yeah, and everybody has fences in these areas, so this is not out of the norm. Okay, adversely affect the delivery of services? No, it's not on the roadside. I mean, I'll answer that one unless somebody wants to speak differently to it. The front of the house is still very accessible. Okay. Property owner purchased the property with knowledge of the zoning restriction. I guess Mr. Kunkel, did you
Yes.
know about the fence height restrictions, or did you even contemplate a fence when you bought this house?
Boy, I can't hear you. Say that again?
Did somebody hear me?
When you purchased your property, were you aware that there were zoning restrictions with respect to the height of the fence?
No.
Well, I wouldn't think so.
Yeah.
Okay. Whether the problem can be resolved by some other manner than granting a variance. And I don't think so, because in order to block the light coming in there and keep the grandkids and the dogs, you need a fence. Did you guys hear me that time?
Yes.
Well,
Mr. Parsons?
no, never mind.
Okay. Anybody else? And whether it preserves the spirit and intent of the zoning requirements, a substantial jump would be done by granting the variance. Comments?
I think, Mr. Armbruster again speaking, I think looking at the total picture, that the spirit and intent of the zoning requirements and substantial justice would be done by granting the variance. That's my opinion.
Okay. Then I would agree. All right. Anybody else? Comments, questions, concerns? Now a motion is in order, please.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Mr. Parsons?
So I've got one more question, but I could have waited until after the variance. So the motion will be as written for a 6-foot 6-inch fence.
That is correct.
Okay.
Somebody want to make a motion?
I'll make the motion, the City of New Franklin Board of Zoning grant request number 2020 BZA 07 of Thomas M. and Kathy A. Kunkel, 4137 Huntsford Drive, New Franklin, Ohio, 44319, requesting the following variances within the RL High Density Residential Lakefront District. From A, Article 8, Section 800.01 G7A of 2 feet 6 inches, additional fence height in order to install a 6 feet 6 inch overall in height solid privacy fence along the north property line at an approximate length of 65 feet, whereas the zoning code requires a maximum solid privacy fence height of 4 feet 0 inches from a point 20 feet 0 inches from the water's edge of the adjoining lake. And from B, Article 6, Section 600.03B3, whereas the zoning code requires a Board of Zoning Appeals review and variance located within the front yard they can put the property within the RL high density residential district.
I have
Okay,
I have a correction now. I don't think that should say 20 feet from the edge of the water. I think it should say 24.
Well, the code requires it to be at least 20.
yeah, the code mentions 20 feet.
Okay, that's fine.
So if he's off on the 24, we're good as long as you're 20.
I
Okay,
wouldn't
no,
say anything.
We got a motion by Mr. Parsons. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
A second by Mr. Roberts.
any more discussion? Okay.
Okay, roll call. Mr. Armbruster.
I'm in favor of the variance request.
Okay, Mr. Roberts.
In favor of the variance.
Mr. Parsons.
No,
Okay, Mr. Kozla.
No.
Mr. Kozla voted no. Okay,
Yeah.
Mr. Whitner.
I'm in favor of the variance.
Okay, that does pass 3-2 then. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thanks,
Gentlemen.
everybody.
Gentlemen, don't take off quite yet till I had a couple things to mention after adjournment.
Okay.
Mr.
Any other?
Thank you for coming.
Is that that?
You get your fence.
Yep.
All right, great. So now to pull the permit, I go and see Barry now,
Barry, do they need to see you to pull a permit?
Yes, that is correct.
but that's not today, right?
That'll be tomorrow, probably tomorrow afternoon. We'll have it
Okay,
ready.
well, we'll do it this week. How's that?
Okay, it'll be ready tomorrow afternoon for you.
All right, awesome.